You're terminal. You are dying. I don't care what your doctor tells you, you're dying. So prepare for it. Think about it. Talk about it. Take the taboo out of it.
And welcome everyone to another episode of Humanity 2.0 podcast, where we interview humans about humanity. Imagine that. Today's guest is super awesome. Not only is she in Dallas, she's a Texan right now, but she is just one of the most amazing energies that I've connected with in the field while interviewing people. And I just love her to bits. And I'm so glad that you get to meet her today and learn all about her. Britna, Dallas Death Doula, how are you doing today?
Doing well. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so glad we finally got to reconnect. It has been a while.
Yes. I remember when I saw you, I was like, okay, this woman has got it going on. She has like these gorgeous colors that she's wearing, and you could just tell that you are fully embracing yourself. And then when I interviewed you, that interview went viral on whatever platform it was that it was for, and everyone just loved you. They were like, I want that energy. And I think you did a kick too in the video. So yes, that video is amazing. You are just incredible. My God, I'm so lucky. I feel so fortunate to have met you, and just every interaction after, which there's like a few because we both are super busy, but I'm just grateful to be in your presence today. So thank you so much for being here.
Oh my goodness. Thank you. That is like the sweetest introduction ever. I appreciate that.
100% organic. So my first question to you is, were you always this awesome? Like, did you just grow up knowing that you were going to be amazing, or were you more of an introvert? How did it all happen for you?
Hey, now we're like, hello. No, I think it's definitely something I've embraced later in life. I don't know that I always had the awesome energy. I don't know. That's a good question. Wow. I've noticed a lot lately in my older age, people acknowledging my energy more. So I don't know if it's just that I am more energetic and looking for joy because of the work that I do, or if people are just not expecting an old lady to have that kind of that kick in energy or whatever. Yeah.
You are not an old lady. No way.
Actually, no, I'm not. I'm 51, but yeah, not at all.
I used to joke it when I was younger. I mean, of course, you don't know anything when you're younger, and you still don't know anything when you're midlife either. But I remember saying, like, to people who would comment like, "Oh, I'm an old person," and I would say, "Well, if it doesn't take you 30 minutes to get out of bed without significant help, then you're not old." You're not old. You may feel old inside, but you are not old. And if you do feel old, you can change that. You can do things different and live into yourself like the way you did. When you were young, were you introverted or were you an extrovert?
I was such an awkward child. I think I wanted to be really extroverted, but there was just like something holding me back. And so I did tend to, what is it now? I hear like I'm an introverted extrovert or something like that, where I love going out and love being around people, but I can only take it in small doses. And then I just have to like withdraw within myself and kind of have some downtime to recuperate from that.
I remember seeing a definition, and of course, right, there's a word for everything now. Thanks. But it was like, there was something really weird, like an autovert, like OTOVERT, autovert. And it didn't really sound like the essence of an introvert extrovert, but that's just what it was. I want to say that it was autrovert or something to that nature. But anyway, there's a word for it now. So, hey, it's real. Yeah. I totally identify with that. When I was a kid, I was both as well, but a lot more so introvert. I did, however, embrace art and humanities, and I would sing by myself. And I had this Walkman, right? We had Walkmans and CD players, and I would give concerts to the grass. The blades of grass were little people, and that was my audience. And so I'd sing these songs, I'd buy those compilations of like the Grammy artists, and you have Gloria Estefan and Eric Clapton and all these folks. And I would just make a concert out of it. And then in school, I would keep to myself and I'd write books. I just did a lot of these solo activities, but I didn't really start kind of coming out until I embraced music performance and playing music. And that helped me out a little bit, not a whole lot, but a little bit. So I feel like whatever it is that is put in front of us, whether it be a talent or maybe a friend, we tend to come out a little bit at a time. And eventually one day, if we're lucky, then we'll be able to embrace our full selves and just be authentically who we are. All that being said, I'm glad that you are you right now. You are the you the world needs, and vice versa for everybody watching or listening.
Thank you.
When it comes to humanity, when you hear the word humanity, what is the first image or story or even color that comes up for you?
Is it it's so sad to say, but right now I think we're in such a, crazy time that when I think of humanity, it's almost like in this doomsday type through like that lens. And so I think right now it's just like sitting with a lot of worry about humanity, where we are right now. Will we get through this crazy time? Yeah, and just kind of will we find our way back to humanity, if that makes sense.
It totally does. And just so you know, there are no wrong answers in any of these questions. And that's so valid. I believe that there is so much respect to be had for even viewpoints that are not a sunny disposition. I think taking time to embrace what it is that is sad or a little bit darker or maybe just downright depressing, things that we really feel we have to embrace, because in those things we find strength and we find resilience and we find what it is that we're really feeling. So being in tune with that and providing an honest answer like you did, I think that that's so important and valid. So I appreciate that. And I also agree, we are in a crazy difficult time. So it's very understandable to say worry. I'm so worried. And that is really the essence of why this show exists. And also the video series is because I just felt that humanity needed another viewpoint that could provide inspiration or positivity or even an introspective view on, what it is that is making us sad or making us, crazy, because there'd be some crazy people. And if we could explore that and just take a moment to understand that humans are complicated and complex, and there is no single answer, but there is the action of intentionality and trying to infuse inspiration and hope for that humanity 2.0, where we're empathetic and compassionate and leading with those first, as opposed to what we do now. So that being said, what is your prediction on humanity? Do you feel like we can come back from this, or are we, in the dark ages for another 100 years?
Yeah, I really do think we can come back from it, but I think it takes a lot more conversations like this, where it's just kind of those one-on-ones and that learning, what are other people's, what is their life like? What are their perceptions of things? How are they affected or not affected by the things going on? And just getting away from the social media, which has definitely made us antisocial. It's made us do all the doom scrolling and kind of get into our little filters of, silos of information. And I really think we just need to get back to conversating with one another, just to remind us that there is humanity outside of just our being. We are in this state of, always wanting to share our story, who's liking what we're sharing. We've really insulated ourselves, and we need to get out of that.
Yes, I would totally agree. Sometimes closing the laptop or turning the phone off or setting the timer where you can lock your phone after a certain amount of time so you can detach from social media. It's so important. And it's funny that I say that, because before, I previously worked in a production company that was all about social media. The goal was to take on clients or brands of any kind and then help them elevate their social media to get in front of people. But what I really enjoyed about the company is that it wasn't about the shock value or the controversial content. What it was is that they took storytelling to a different level. And instead of making it about whatever product or mission or values that somebody was trying to push on to people, it was identifying the story behind the people behind the product. So it was telling their story and then sharing that with the world, and then people connect to them, and then they go on and look at their products or whatever offerings that they have. So it was very intentional, which was amazing. But at the same time, there is the other side to it, which involves analytics, and it involves watch time. It involves doing things on a video that make it to where that person stays longer and they don't scroll away. So there is a certain part of content that isn't as pretty or isn't as positive, and it's geared toward making you stay or making you scroll and consume more. So I think there is a lot of responsibility for companies that create content or content creators, period. And I feel like we all have to be very, I guess, mindful or very intentional about what it is that we're putting out. And that's anybody, whether it's for a brand or whether it's for ourselves. What we put out into the world has ripples, and it has a significant impact on someone. I came to realize that there is so much responsibility, and we kind of owe it to not only ourselves, but to humanity to do so in a way that is not going to hurt anyone or not going to make them feel less than, because those types of content are just so destructive. And so when I make things, it's always from the heart. It's always positive or introspective, or maybe, and I just think that, people are connecting with whatever you're sharing. And sometimes they connect even more so with these really tragic moments. And then they grow from that, or they feel inspired, just empowering us to be authentically ourselves. And then also making sure that we're aware that there's a responsibility out there as well.
Yeah. And I think you really touched on something very important. And I think it's something that we've gotten away from. And that is storytelling. Now, what is it? They say our attention spans like all of 3 seconds. When we're thinking about telling stories on social media or whatever, what we're thinking is, okay, what can I say in 3 seconds? It's going to grab them. And you can't tell a story in 3 seconds. And so I think that we really have just gotten away from truly learning about people, and we're just learning about little snippets of things, and it's all very curated. And so we really don't know who people are anymore. And that getting away from those stories, I think, has really done us, it's been a detriment to us. And I think that's how we get to that humanity 2.0, where we get back to storytelling and learning about one another, the people behind the keyboard, so to speak.
Yes. I love that so much. I think that being able to go back, like you said, and embrace the stories, but also embrace each other. I mean, what happened to going outside and going to the neighborhood bar and just meeting people? What happened to going to coffee with your friends, regardless of birthdays or anniversaries? What happened to just going outside and saying hi to the mailman or there was no more milkmen, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not in Texas.
Party.
Yeah.
Walk parties where they would just close off the street and people would go out and, potluck it with your neighbors or whatever. And now if our neighbors say hi to us, we look like, oh God, what do they want? What are they doing? Definitely.
That reminds me of when I was very little in San Antonio. We lived on a street where everyone knew everyone. The neighbors across would watch your house. You'd watch their house. There was a lady up the street who sold candy and ice cream, and all the kids would run to her house. Everyone was playing in each other's houses. And then, your mom would say, don't come home till the lights come on. But we would go and play. We'd be out interacting with other kids, whether we knew them or not. I think sometimes that if we want to evolve, we kind of have to go back to that childhood mindset where we are just open and free and we are connecting with everyone regardless of their, creed, color, religion, what have you. Because those things didn't exist for us back then. We were just kids playing with other kids. And maybe we just need more of that childhood inspiration.
Yeah, definitely.
Let's go play Legos.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Now, we all have moments where another person or another soul just reminds us of our shared humanness. Can you tell me about a person who did that for you and how that exchange just changed your view on humanity?
I've been fortunate to have many of these experiences and many of these people in my life. But one that's just really sits with me is, so I'm a death doula. One of my clients, when we were first talking, was really looking for someone of the Jewish faith to be able to help her on her journey out of life. And I knew that that was so important to her. And so I asked her, why is it important? Tell me stories. Let me learn more about why this is so important to you. And in doing that, it did a couple of things. One, it taught me more about someone whose faith was so important to them, which was so different than kind of my experience. But then it also allowed me to learn about the different traditions and everything that were so important to her. And she ended up, while I was trying to find her a Jewish doula, we were still communicating and still talking. And I was telling her about all the things that I was feeling so fortunate to be able to learn because of having met her. And turns out she ended up hiring me to be her doula because she thought it was so special that I would take the time to learn and all of that. But it was just one of those times where this woman came to me and she had a set idea of what she wanted, and it had to be someone Jewish. And there was a very good reason she wanted that. But just in our sharing our stories with one another and her seeing the humanity in me and that I could see the humanity in her, and we were able to connect. And I walked with her on her journey for 2 years before she died. And it was one of the most impactful journeys I've ever walked on.
Two things I take from that. One, that is beautiful. Okay, three things. You were probably the first person to answer this question in the most perfect way. So thank you so much for that. I really love that you took us on that journey. And the other thing was, isn't it so gosh darn beautiful how we think that we want, whether it be a certain set of parameters for when we're moving on to that next place may not be what it is that we get, right? But not because things fall through, but because that's just not what it's supposed to be, right? What we want sometimes isn't what is. And I think that's so beautiful. I think that she saw, like you said, she saw that humanity in you and made that connection. And you were most definitely hands down the perfect person for her. So I think that is so cool. And I really, encourage everyone to be open to what else is out there, whatever is out there beyond what we want or what we desire. Just know that it's may or may not be that, but it may be even more. And maybe focus on that it's not going to be less. It's going to be even more if you're open to it.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And that was, it was so profound. She ended up telling me that I was not her death doula. I was her life doula because I really helped her live. And that was and what she felt was that because I'm trying to remember exactly how she worded it, but basically because we did not have that shared connection of the traditions and all of that, I was focused more on the things she wanted to accomplish and making things happen for her. Whereas somebody who knew that it was those traditions that were so important, they may have only focused on those things. Anyway, so it just worked out being a very beautiful relationship and partnership.
That is so amazing. And it's so amazing that that's your work. This is the work that you do. And it's amazing to think about. Also kind of worry. I'm not worry. Bleh, I don't know where that came from. I don't worry at all. So, worry lines. No, I just had a thought. While you were speaking, I was thinking, are there people's stories and people for that matter after they pass that stay with you? Because I can say for myself, there are tons of people that I interviewed that they're with me for life. So in your line of work, you're helping people transition to that final stage of life to go through that. Are there in fact people that have stayed with you throughout your whole journey?
Every one of them. Yeah, I learned something from everyone that I have the honor of working with. And eventually that'll be a book, what I learned from the dead or the dying or whatever. But yeah, they've all taught me something. And I think it does come down to being open to listening to their stories and looking for the little nuggets of wisdom and everything from them all. And so every time I'm working with someone, I just jot down little, life nuggets from each of them.
Is there one that comes to mind right now? And feel free to take a moment, but just like one that surfaces.
Oh, there's been so many. I think about one woman that went her entire life never wanting to try mango. And then she finally had mango, and it was like, why did I wait all this time? Now I'm dying and I don't get to have very much mango or whatever. So I think it's kind of one of those, like, just be willing to try everything. You know, what's the worst that happens? You don't like the mango, spit it out, whatever. But like everything. Eat the cake. Eat the cake. Eat the damn cake. You know, I'm for all that. But yeah, I think just without really thinking too hard right off the cuff, that's just it. Live fully. It's such a cliche. God, I just totally went to cliche land.
No, I'm there. Population, this one. No, I don't care. I don't care. That was awesome. I love mango. I love mango. I love mango so much. And maybe that's the title of this episode. Eat the damn cake. I love it. Eat the damn cake. Oh, there's
You know, so I also host a couple of death cafes here in Dallas. And one of the things with death cafes is, you know, you have cake and it's free to attend, free cake. You got to love that. And so one time we had somebody say, people were talking about, you know, what brought them there. And he's like, yeah, I came for the cake and I stayed for the conversation. And I was like,
yes.
That.
Or one for Pillsbury. Or Duncan Hines. I don't know what kind of cake you get. I'm not judging. All cake is cake.
I am so fortunate to have the best cake sponsors. So Snap Pastries and Bakery here in Dallas always does my cakes.
We're going to tag them in this episode. We're going to tag them.
Yes. Yes. And the Union Coffee is my my sponsor for the venue.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Yeah, feel free to name drop. We will make sure that they get their due course, and then maybe they'll sponsor the show. I would love to have them as sponsors, or anyone for that matter.
The bakery and Union, I've been doing that Death Cafe for over 3 years now. And it's just amazing the community that we have built around those conversations. And then I've now also started one at the Dallas Shambhala Meditation Center, which is on a Saturday morning. So you have several times you can tap into those kind of conversations as well. That was a little
so cool
topic, but we.
No, you're fine. When are these and what are the dates, just so everybody can hear and make sure they go get some cake?
Yeah, so the one at Union Coffee, which is in the Oak Lawn neighborhood, is the last Tuesday of every month, and conversation starts at 6:30. It is upstairs in a historic building, so there is no elevator, unfortunately. I like to make that note. But then the one, it's the third Saturday of every month, and it's at 10 a.m. at the Dallas Shambhala Meditation Center.
That is awesome. I need to come to these events. I will go to them. And if it's cool with you, I'd love to do some little quick interviews with attendees if that's cool or whatever.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I would love that. Your mango story made me think of adjacent melon. Honeydew melon. So my ex-husband's ex-wife, the bio mother of our child, she passed away some years ago, and before she died, she didn't tell anyone that she was sick. The universe just worked it in such a way that when my ex went to go do a wellness check because he hadn't heard from them in some time, there was a hospice nurse at the door. I can't comprehend. I've lived through some stuff, but I cannot comprehend a 13-year-old kid taking care of their dying mother all alone in a house where all the windows are dark and just in their room watching Netflix. And I just can't understand how you can survive something like that, you know?
Yeah.
But somehow he's doing great. Somehow he found resilience within himself. But back to the mom, there was a point where I was alone with her and I had been in the living room and she fell out of bed and I heard it. So I went over to the room and she's on the floor. I helped her back into bed. And I remember asking her, like, is there anything I can get for you? Can I get you something to eat or drink? And I don't know about the end stages, so I probably wasn't a good question to ask. But I said, what about honeydew melon? Honeydew melon is so delicious, and you can, eat it or just keep it in your mouth for a while. And she just like lit up and she's like, honeydew melon, your melon story just reminded me of that. And she was gone probably maybe about a week later. Of course, the calls always come in the middle of the night. It was surreal to have lived through all of that so fast, and then for her to be gone so fast, but then having the lasting impressions of everything that happened within her life still be affecting even years, even to this day. And we still talk about her in various situations. But I just won't forget how you can know someone and then at the end of life walk away with such profound resolutions, or just find a way to rise above that relationship that you had and just be two souls in a room and one of them just trying to help the other one be comforted. And it just beyond. I've never shared that story with anyone, so that's amazing.
That's glad you gave her the honey. That sounds like exactly what she wanted.
Yeah. I never got to give it to her, but it was just the idea of it was good for her. And
yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Silver lining. Not really silver, but just something extra that's awesome. She was a writer. She was a beat poet in Dallas. She was one of those in the 90s in Dallas. So when that scene was like huge, she was everywhere. And there are pictures of her at like Slam Poetry Fest in Dallas. And that's another thing I love about Dallas, that there's so much history with the arts and music, so much. And so there are pictures of her doing spoken word, and I have all of her writings, all of her journals. I think she was published, but like not in official capacity. It was more like one of them paper zines or something. And so because her whole life is pretty much riddled with just really sad things, and she never really got to achieve, her dreams. She didn't get to be the culinary chef. She didn't get to be this prolific writer. She had all of these issues. She had, mental issues. And so all of these things that kept her from experiencing this, really, really fine moments of life she didn't have. And I just felt so heartbroken for her. Even though, it's my ex-husband's ex, it didn't matter. It's a human. At the end of the day, it's a human to human thing. And I just felt the most utter sadness for another human to never have experienced just unbridled joy. And so I took all of her writings, and I have them all here. And so since then, when I have time, I will go to a blog online that I created for her work, and I type it up. I type up her poems and I post it because I feel like her work should be seen, right? You put all yourself and your soul into your work, and it's a crime for it not to be seen. And so there's a blog out there, and I'll put the link in the description for people that want to read it. But there's a blog out there with her writings, and I'm not done. There's like a lot to put in. And one day I thought, I could take a picture and just post a picture. And my son's like, that's kind of like defeats the purpose a little bit, even though it's easier. And I'm like, rats. So yeah, her work is online and it's living even beyond her death. It felt like in my soul that was the right thing to do, to give her that space, that platform for her work to live on and for someone to enjoy it.
Yeah, I love that. And I even like the idea of having the photograph, because that's her handwriting and stuff, right? Was it handwritten?
It was typed. But still, it's still the original work itself. So maybe I still photograph them and post it, which would be super simple. It'd be a lot faster, because I've been doing this for a couple years now and I'm not done. I'm nowhere near done. But that, or else like type them and maybe put a photo of the actual art from it. Maybe, I don't know. But yeah, I've been working on that for a long time, and it just feels like, when you have something that you just feel it in your soul that you need to do this. You need to do this. So important to listen to that.
Yeah, definitely. What a beautiful legacy. It's a project of love for her. That's so sweet of you.
Yeah, it really is. And it's funny because, we had some words. We danced some dances, but, it's like I said, it's not even about that. It's human to human. It is literally all it is. So crazy stuff. Now, speaking of loss and love seem to define much of our shared experience. Can you tell us about a loss or a love that had a profound impact on you and your realization about either people or about yourself? And I feel like this question is so great for you because it has to do with loss, but you can go whichever way.
Wow. Is it too late to go back and ask for questions in advance so I can really think this through?
Well, I mean, you can do a wild card. You get 3. No. But I mean, if you have something else that you're thinking of that you'd love to share, by all means.
No, let's see. Okay, quick, just off the cuff. I'm going to go with like my very first client that I had as a death doula. This woman was 96, perfectly healthy. Like it had a broken toe once in her life a long time ago or something. That was about it. But she came to me because she was experiencing a lot of anxiety about impending death. At 96, you definitely know that it's coming sooner rather than later. And she'd lost a lot of friends and, her spouse, all of that. She was just had experienced a lot of loss. Anyway, so this was causing her a lot of anxiety. And so she just thought maybe talking to a third party about these feelings would be helpful to make her not anxious. So anyways, we met twice. And then I got a call from her daughter after our second visit that she was in the hospital and she was dying and was asking to see me. And I walked into the room and she held out her hand and said, Britna, I'm not anxious anymore. I'm ready to go. And she died that afternoon. And like, initially, because I was so new to it, I thought, shit, I have killed her. And she was perfectly healthy a few days ago. And she talks to me twice. And now, but in hindsight, what it actually taught me was that we really have a little more agency over our deaths, maybe than I ever initially thought. That point, I realized it seemed like she was really just holding on for all of these other reasons. And once she was able to talk through that and kind of get some of that off her chest or whatever, process those feelings and thoughts, her body and her mind were able to let go simultaneously. They worked together at that time. And that's when I realized, we can live intentionally, but we can also die intentionally. And I think that was a very profound lesson about loss.
Totally fine. That was wonderful. And it was it's a side street. There are lots of those in Dallas.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Dallas podcast.
Yeah. But it was just one of those where it was like that, she was just so not at all ready to go. I mean, had just had a very wonderful visit, health checkup with her doctor and everything was perfectly fine. And then her kidneys were shutting down and everything was, her systems were all shutting down. And so it was just something with that kind of mind over matter thing, which I guess then also leaves me like my dad with his cancer. He said he was not going to let it get the best of him. And so he went into like every chemo session telling his body, you are not going to shit the bed on me. You are going to take this medicine and then we are going to go fishing or we're going to go, trim the trees on the lot or whatever. And that's exactly how he lived through his chemo experience. It was very mind over matter. So yeah, I guess those are two kind of stories that came to mind there for me.
100% A+. The word and the concept and the value in that word agency. That's amazing. Thank you so very much. Agency. Wonderful. You're just the best guest. Sorry, other guests.
Sorry, other guys. Suck it.
Sorry, not sorry. Oh, my Lord. Today's society often judges what it doesn't understand. Shocker. What is it that we do not understand about death doulas?
Oh, my goodness. Like everything.
Like, how long you got, sister?
Yeah. Let's see. One, I think it's that we only work with people that are close to death, almost like we are hospice, and we are not. We are not. So we are just non-medical, holistic support for people that are dying. And guess who that is, Vanessa? Every one of us. We are all. So I have a lot of people say to me, like, I won't ever even start thinking about end of life till I get a terminal diagnosis. And I'm like, yeah, it was called first breath. You got that diagnosis. Like, and God, you talk about the streets in Dallas driving on these, you never know when something is going to happen. So yeah, so I think that is the biggest misperception, is that we only work with people that are actively dying. I work with people that are doing their end of life plans. So that looks like getting all of their affairs in order. Do you have somebody who can make medical decisions for you if for whatever reason you're unable to? There's an accident, or you have all of a sudden lost your ability to speak or whatever. Do you have somebody assigned to make those decisions for you? Handle your estate for you if you're unable to. And then what does that look like for you? If you're in a hospital and you're incapacitated and can't speak, what kind of sounds do you want in the room? What kind of smells? Are there people you want to make sure are left out of the room? Things like that. Those are things you can have agency over. But if you don't have those written down, nobody knows. And so I do have a lot of my clients that are young and healthy. They're in their 20s, early 30s, but they're just getting their affairs in order because they've either seen their parents go through it with their grandparents' estates, like they left all their stuff and nobody knows what to do with it. And then it causes tension in the family. It causes like having to put your grief on hold while you deal with the business side of death. And so, yeah, start working on that stuff young. You need a death doula before you realize you need a death doula. I also am a big proponent on, if we have not lived a boring life, why should we have a boring funeral? Like, let's put the fun in funeral. Mine is going to be an album release party. You can actually have your cremains pressed into a vinyl album and you get to pick the music. So I'm going to be an album release party. Everyone's leaving with a little 45 and a poster, like an album release party poster and stuff like that. And, if you love movies, why not rent out a movie theater and have people, share stories or whatever? It doesn't have to be just boring.
I love that so much. I love all of that.
I'm not living boring. I don't want to die boring.
Quit making me cry. No, I really love all of that so very much. While you were speaking, I was thinking, and you're going to think, people are going to think this is weird, but that's okay because I'm living in it. It's all right. It's my world. You're just visitors.
Fly, girl.
I had the thought, I was thinking, I need that in my life. I need that death plan in my life. It's kind of weird to think you want the death plan in your life. Like you need that in your life. It's kind of weird, but I just thought that was kind of funny.
Oh, yeah. I mean, how much time and money goes into planning a wedding?
Sure.
A birthday party, a 50th birthday party, whatever. And then our death, everyone's like, I'm going to be dead. I don't care. I'm not going to think about it. Well, you know what? That's fine. And that's great for you. But do your loved ones a solid. Leave that final gift for them because that's what it will be. Because then they know your wishes and your thoughts. They don't have to think about it. They can focus on their grief instead of beating themselves up about decisions they're afraid they're going to get wrong.
So when my mom passed, she passed a year ago this month, and she just told the family, I don't want a huge old funeral. Viewing is fine, and then everyone just have a party, have a nice time. And not too long before her, my brother passed away, and he had this, full-on funeral, and there were these plaques of him that we all got to keep, and the crosses they put on top of the casket, and then the family gets the crosses, and he's in a cemetery, so very traditional. My mom was cremated. And so he didn't get to pick anything. His ex-wife did. And then my mom, she was like, I just want these simple things. That's it. Just cremate me and then spread me somewhere where there's gambling or spread me somewhere where there's water. She was, full of life and just funny and so silly, man. So I have this little urn of her. My brother gave it to me not too long ago. And it's really beautiful. A little baby urn of her. And she's on the mantle. And I think it was on her birthday. I think I took her to bingo because she loved bingo. So I took her to bingo and we won $20 and that was great. But she was there on the table and no one knew. And she was there on the table just hanging out. I'm playing with her daubers and it was great. I have these wind chimes of hers that are outside on the patio and they blow all the time, especially when something's wrong or when I'm not feeling great or I'm being a little, difficult, which imagine that, me being difficult. It doesn't happen ever. I'm perfect. But they go off and I'm like, okay, mom, thanks. You're still managing me, from beyond. And I see butterflies and I know it, you see signs, everywhere. And those, sometimes for me, at least, I believe those things that we see or people that remind us of people that are gone, that those are our people that are just saying, hey, I'm here, or hey, I love you.
Yeah.
And it means everything.
Yeah, I had the craziest one happen the other day. So, and I love a good synchronicity story and I loved a good thrift store find. And this just like really brings the two together. I found this coffee mug and I'm a big coffee addict. Like I should probably mainline it all day long. And I find this mug and I'm like, my God, who left grandma at the thrift shop? The mug's from a woman's funeral and it's got her beautiful little face. And on the back, it's got a quote that I'm assuming is her that says like some of the greatest decisions were made over a cup of coffee. And then it says 90 years loved. And then it has the date that she died. And it was May 15th, 2019. That was the day my dad died. That's his death mate. I was like, my gosh, look, I bet they had coffee together in the afterlife.
That is amazing.
But I'm like, okay, the size of Dallas, of, all the thrift stores that I could have gone into, that family could have donated to. Which again, who is grandma at the thrift shop? Anyways, I'm so glad they did. Because now, like every morning, I can drink from her, and for some reason, I feel like it makes me feel like I'm having coffee with my dad, even though it's some other dead woman. I don't know. Crazy! They had this same death date. Anyways, it just
makes me think of the coffee commercials, and the best part of waking up is grandma's funeral cup. That's just what it is.
Yeah, but they hadn't even taken it out of the wrap. Like it was still in the clear cellophane wrap with, I guess, red might have been her favorite color because it was a red bow. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's okay, niece Joy. I got grandma and I'm loving her.
I like to think that all of our loved ones are up there having a party and just, having coffee, like you said. When I come across someone who's lost a family member and it kind of speaks to me, I'm like, well, you know what? Your mother, wife, sister, brother, uncle, cousin is hanging out with my mom and she's pretty cool. So they're all having coffee.
That's right. We're all energy and energy never dies. So it just changes form.
I used to think growing up that I didn't really give a thought to death very much. I mean, imagine that you're young. But as I got older, I was like, I'm fine. Whatever happens, I'm fine. Whenever it's supposed to happen, that's fine. DNR all the way. just whatever. I'm going to heaven. I'm good. I'm good. I didn't really care. But then as things started getting even more amazing, especially now, I'm like, I'm cool with waiting. I don't want to see what happens on this earth for as long as possible, which is so funny because before I just didn't care. And I'm not sure if it was, not caring because of what's down here or just not caring. It's interesting to think about, but now I'm kind of like, well, let's see what's happening with life. And then when it does get there, if and when, I'm cool with it either way, because like you were talking about living, your life. And I've done that from the very beginning. I've always lived out loud because something inherent that just said, if you don't do this, then there is no other option. Not even a then, I just did and I lived. And you have people that look back on their high school years that are like, oh, I wish I would have done this, or I wish I could redo it. I mean, I did it. I did it sevenfold and I'm exhausted. It's this life is just so funny. And thank God for all the people in it and the people that we are about to meet and those that we have, because what a tapestry that we all are as humans. Now, a funny way to ask this, and we have to kind of be a little short on it, but tell us the why behind your current work, and then tell us what the work that you do is.
Yeah. So, you talked about never thinking about death very much when you were young, and that makes a lot of sense. Unless you were me. At 10, I told my parents I wanted to be a mortician. And so it's just work, or at least an industry that I always knew I would be okay with. And it's the compassion side of it, like helping people. So I am a death doula. And so I help people deal with all things death, dying, grief, all of that. It's something that speaks to me because it's just, I don't know what it was at a young age. I knew I I had a grasp at a very young age that everyone dies and it's just a normal part of life. It didn't scare me. It just was what it was. And so I never understood why people didn't talk about it until it had happened. And then once it happened, people didn't want to talk about it anymore. They didn't want to talk about the person. They didn't want to talk about death, all of that. And I just found that at a young age to be very strange. So anyways, right out of high school, I went to mortuary college and about 3 months in went, whoa, this is not for me. And so it was about another 20 years before I learned what a death doula was. And I heard a woman named Alua Arthur speak and about the work that she does as a death doula. And I went, that's what I was keying into as a young child, and I just did not have the word for it. I didn't know the name death doula, that title. So once I learned about it, then I trained under Alua Arthur and got my first client 2 days after I finished the training, and I've just never looked back. I host end of life planning parties. And they are a party. We have so much fun. There's really some really funny stories about death, dying, funerals, all of that, and just help people kind of wrap their mind around taking agency on that part of your life, not leaving it for your loved ones. And kind of what does that look like for you? What do you want that celebration of your life to look like? Then I also sit with families and clients as they're on their journey out. And so that's sitting vigil with them, sitting bedside, or just being there for respite care for their caregivers or family members, just kind of meeting people where they are. And that does look different for every single client.
Yeah. I can totally see the party and the stories and I'm down for that.
Yeah.
And
the 84-year-old woman that wanted to be buried in her finest lingerie because she was going to see her husband again after 10 years. I mean, that's a good story.
I'm thinking Weekend at Bernie's, I get to sit up, the stylish hat on and just,
Yeah.
and everyone, no, let's not do that. But yeah, I think that it would be amazing to hear, to hear and see all the people that have been impacted come. That would be awesome. Because we truly never know how much of an impact we have on people. And that's a crime in itself too.
Yeah.
Because it would be really cool to see how many people and what their lives are like, that would be awesome.
Yeah. There's a trend right now, like living funerals, living celebrations and stuff where people are doing that. And
yeah. It was I think the opening scene for that movie Rental Family. If you've not seen it, Rental Family stars Brendan Fraser in Tokyo, and it is so good. You need to check that out. People watching, listening, you need to check that out. Rental Family is amazing. You walk away with so much, and it has humor, it has story, it has that complicated, beautiful moments that you just crave, sometimes. Rental Family, oh, it's amazing. But when you were talking, you made me think of My Girl, when I was like, were you watching My Girl when you were 10? Is that what happened? Veda Sultan got to your heart. That English teacher. I see what she was thinking. Thomas J. Oh man, they need I think what they made 3, they need a 4. I don't know. My Woman, who knows? I don't know. But not to trivialize what you were saying at all. I just thought of her, and what I did take away from that on a serious level was that I really enjoy, and I'm so happy for you that you found that aha moment, that you found that role that you were supposed to play in this world. How freaking amazing is it when people find that? I mean, watching people find that, you're kind of jelly. You know, like you're like, well, good on those people that knew they were doctors when they were little. Good on those people who knew they were pilots and construction workers and firemen. And this goes on. Like, good for them. But I have no freaking clue, you know? And there are so many more of the no freaking clue people than the ones that know. And for me, I swear, like, I want to say that I took on many different roles and professions and always feeling like, this isn't the shoe that fits. And I'm so sad because they're good looking shoes, but they're not the ones that fit. And then remembering when I was young and I would listen to music and don't hate, but I used to listen to Yanni and other classical music, but I would watch films in my mind and I would just close my eyes and watch films and watch stories happening with this music. And I thought everybody did that. Apparently not, but I thought everyone did. And so that coupled with experiencing classes about film and making films in school, and then going into college, studying radio, TV, film, and then having to go to another college years later, but it always finding its way back to me.
Yeah.
And understanding that it wasn't done with me. I wasn't done with it. Even when I had a really huge year of burnout that took me out completely, and it was just a time for reset. And it would not leave me. Just all creative mediums, whether it's music or film or video, podcast, whatever it is, storytelling, writing, all that stuff. It's never left. It's always been there, and it's who I am. And that was my aha thing. So when I got to the second college and I walked into the TV studio, because they have a TV studio that's a full on studio with a control room, and it's part of your classroom, which is amazing. And so walking in there every single time, I just felt this crazy electricity and feeling like this is, oh man, this is the place. This is it. All of this. And then when they ask, like, what do you want to do? Do you want to be a director? Do you want to be an editor? I was like, I want all of it. And then there's a term called a generalist, someone who does everything. And that's me, of course. I did classes. I got to direct a TV pilot, which we did a spoof of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. And that was great and all. Just all of that experience and path, it was just the coolest thing to have that aha moment that this is what you were made for, or, you know, where you're supposed to be, where your storytelling comes to life in so many mediums, and what you have inside you can share so freely. And it's amazing.
Yeah, and it was so, like, in the biz, we call it the death whisper. And obviously, I mean, as a 10-year-old girl, I was obviously hearing that whisper, because what 10-year-old girl says they want to be a mortician? But it was like, once I went to mortuary college, it's like it went silent. I was like, ooh, this isn't it. And then once I heard Alua talk about her role as a death doula, it became like this deafening yell, like that full body yes. I was like, that is what little me was thinking or cluing into, and just didn't have the name for it, you know? Yeah.
So we're going to move on to our last question. You'll share and then I'll share. But what I want to do real quick is have you tell people where to find you on the socials, websites, all that good stuff. Go.
Yeah, so I made it real easy. I'm just Dallas Death Doula. So on Instagram, it's Dallas Death Doula. Website is dallasdeathdoula.com, and email is dallasdeathdoula@gmail. So very easy.
Yay for consistency. Yay. Good job.
Search friendly.
That is amazing. Amazing. So the final awesomest question in the whole wide world, no pressure. And feel free to take a moment if you have to. It's okay. If you could share a message with humanity, what message would that be?
Stop sucking. No, I'm just kidding. See, no,
I'm done with you.
I know you're done. Like that could be
No, go.
right. That'll be
so funny.
Blooper reel. No, it's just you're terminal. You are dying. I don't care what your doctor tells you. You're dying. So prepare for it. Think about it. Talk about it. Take the taboo out of it. You know, tap into conversations in your community, whether that be a death cafe. They're hosted all over the country. You can find some virtual. Just have coffee with friends and just say, hey, thought about dying? What's that going to look like for you? You know, what is your funeral going to be like? Like, have these conversations. It is the one thing as humanity that we all have. The only thing we all have in common.
Yes, it is most definitely an equalizer for sure.
Yeah. So like embrace it and prepare for it. Yeah.
That's a wonderful message.
Yeah.
Definitely. Definitely. I kind of like picture someone just walking up to someone else after listening to this or watching this and being like, "You're dying.
Guess what?
I'm deceased."
Yeah. But really what I have found is that when you are cognizant of the fact that, yes, you are dying, you will find little moments of joy everywhere because you actually start looking for them. Before I really started doing this work and started talking death all the time and thinking about it all the time, I was always looking for big moments of joy. And then my life seemed so disappointing because I did not have all these huge moments of joy. And then what I realized is my life is full of all these little bitty moments of joy every day. Like the smell of fresh brewed coffee brings me so much joy. And I get to experience that every single day, several times a day with me. Like all these little things that I just looked over before.
Yes.
Yeah. So when you're aware that you're dying, you're living more presently.
I agree 100%. Oh my God. I love that. I love the little moments. And it's so true. We chase these big moments or the idea of these big moments that'll happen or maybe they won't happen. And we really, really should embrace the little moments.
Yeah, and create your own. Have a dance party in the living room with yourself. Best damn guest you can invite. So, learning. Yeah.
Exactly. So recently I started doing something new, which at the end of the episode, sharing a moment, sharing a thought. And so what my thought is today for Humanity 2.0, for our audiences and for ourselves, is just be open to receiving what is out there that you've not yet seen and acknowledging that we are people and we have desires and we have wants and needs and such. There is much more outside of ourselves. And if we are open to everything outside of ourselves, then we will begin to find ourselves on other paths that we could not possibly imagine. But then we will also be able to embrace and enjoy what is. And to your point today with death, getting comfortable with it and understanding that, and I believe this wholeheartedly, that you respect so much. You have a very fervent respect for life when you contemplate death because you see life for what it is, which is an anomaly that we even exist, that we're even here, that we're lucky to be right here, right now and be who we are. So I would just encourage everyone to just be open and connect with one another, right? Like we said in the beginning. So Britna, been amazing. Dallas Death Doula, the best darn doula in all of Dallas. That's what I'll say on the reviews on Yelp. You've been amazing and thank you so much for being here. Stay a bit after we close out because you're the coolest. We're having coffee. And thank you guys for watching or listening to Humanity 2.0 podcast. Be sure to check out the description links for Britna, for PodMatch, which is super cool. If you're a podcast host or guest, it is the best place to be on the podcast planet. Also, PodFest, which happens in Orlando, is a really cool thing, just happened, but you can go next year if you didn't go. And then be sure to follow the show and share it. Listen with someone you love. And also sponsors. Hi, sponsors. We want you. Come on over and let's share humanity with the world. But above all, be good to other humans and don't forget to connect with one another. Thanks, Britna. Thank you, Humanity 2.0 peoples. We'll see you guys on the next episode of Humanity 2.0 podcast. Be well.